Welcome to the 27th episode of Dialogika. I'm Stephanie Tangkilisan.
And I'm Sweden Lee.
This week we're going to talk about
Male-female friendships.
Can men and women just be friends? Mike Pence doesn't think so. So we're going to talk about why he doesn't want to have dinner with any other person that's not his wife, and talk about men and female friendships according to science and research. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about the friend zone and the historical devaluation of friendship over time.
And also sharing some of our own experiences as a male-female friendship.
We realize this is a very cis-hetero episode, but we were trying to do this also as a way to stay in our lane, and being aware that there's an erasure that happens when we're talking about this kind of stuff.
So we want to acknowledge that, and we want to reclaim friendship as something that's valuable and worthy to pursue.
In and of itself.
Yes, and we have some big news at the end of the episode, so stay tuned until the end if you want to hear about that.
Or you can fast forward to the end.
But please stay tuned. Yeah. Try not to fast forward.
So, here's to it.
So if you follow US political news, you might have heard a little bit about the controversy around Mike Pence and his wife Karen Pence.
So what actually happened is Ashley Parker, a reporter for the Washington Post, wrote a profile on Karen Pence, Mike Pence's wife. Mm-hmm. Mike Pence, if you maybe forgot, is the vice president to Donald Trump. He was also the former governor of Indiana and general...
patriarchal white man.
Yeah. You know this guy is not good news and is actually a lot more conservative than Trump, and actually implemented a very anti-woman agenda when he was governor.
Yeah.
This included repealing a lot of protections for the LGBTQ community and defunding Planned Parenthood. He also recently broke the tie in order to repeal the funding for Planned Parenthood in a room of white men.
Yep.
So that's him.
Yes.
In a nutshell.
He has a great record if you are into the patriarchy.
Yeah. So, in addition to this, he's an evangelical Christian, and he was actually baptized Roman Catholic, and then they became born-again evangelical Christians. And as a part of this, they follow what is called the Billy Graham rule. Billy Graham is an evangelical pastor from the Focus on the Family Church and Ministry, who... in a response to avoid further scandal of the evangelical Christian church movement in the 80s, decided to have a rule where he is not allowed to have dinner alone with any other woman besides his wife. A man is also not allowed to go to any kind of function with alcohol without his wife present. So Mike Pence follows this rule, and he's been true to this since 2002, and this was just recently unearthed by the Washington Post and Ashley Parker in her profile of Karen Pence. And this announcement or reveal got a lot of praise for Mike Pence from the conservative side of the political aisle, but if you're listening to this, you'd probably be more critical than that.
You're probably not exactly on that side of the aisle. I mean, we're not even going to talk about why Billy Graham had to have this rule and why evangelical ministers in the 80s are so prone to...
# a lot of extramarital affairs.
You can look that up on your own. But, a lot of people who are not from the conservative side have been commenting about how ridiculous this rule seems.
Yeah. So the thing is, I respect people with religious beliefs, and I respect people who want to protect their marriage.
Yeah.
I think the institution of marriage can be a very wonderful thing, so I have nothing against that. But the thing is, this is not just some average Mike, he's not an average Joe. This is about Mike Pence as the Vice President of the United States being unable to have dinner alone with Theresa May, the Prime Minister of England, or Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany.
Because he thinks that women are just another sexual object.
Yeah.
That's the assumption here, right?
Yeah.
When you have a rule
this is the thing. The presumption here is any kind of woman who is biologically woman to them is considered as someone who can threaten the sanctity of their marriage. Which, if your marriage can be destroyed by dinner...
then you have bigger problems than this.
Yeah. One, that. Two, what does this mean, right? Fundamentally, one, you're having someone who is in a position of power who has practiced this for the last 15 years. Yeah. This means that any kind of woman in a position of somewhat power, like wants to network with Mike Pence, cannot do so over dinner and does not have the access to power to do so, right? Mm-hmm. I just really wanted to quote something written by Glennon Doyle Milton, founder of the nonprofit of Together Rising and creator of Momastery. She's a Christian. And she talked about how, like, she wanted to reject the notion that Pence's rule is personally political. So I'm quoting her here. His marriage perpetuates religious and political ideologies based on false dehumanizing ideologies about women that, when espoused by those in power, have manifested as disastrous outcomes for all of us. If Pence cannot eat alone with a woman, it must be because he sees a woman across the table not as an advisor, not as a teacher, not as a leader, not as a constituent, but only as a sexual entity. Mm-hmm. Like, this, if you recontextualize it by the policies that he's actually done, which takes away a lot of rights for women, this means that he really generally does not have a space to have a genuine, deep conversation with women about the policies that he's enacting.
It kind of makes you realize the decisions he's made as a governor and as, a politician.
As a governor, you have to, care about your constituencies. And if you don't want to have that face-to-face, like a real honest gender face-to-face, this just, I think, let's just say that you can have lunch as a woman alone with Mike Pence. Mm-hmm. But this is the kind of man who portions out dinner because he thinks that primarily women are a threat.
Yeah, he thinks you're dangerous.
Yeah, you're dangerous. So I also highly doubt that he would have dinner alone with you. Lunch alone with you, sorry.
Or at least take you seriously.
Like,
a part of this is that, right? Like, he cannot have dinner with women that's not his wife because he doesn't take them seriously.
So, I really like this line as well. Glennon, you did it better than me, so I'm just going to quote you. Likewise, the inevitable consequences of the Pence rule is to preserve and pass down men's power to other men. If powerful men are free to meet alone with other men and to exclude women from the most powerful rooms in the country, how will women ever occupy those rooms in their own right? If powerful men are only able to mentor young men, where does that leave young women?
Yeah.
So access is power, and access denied is power denied.
I think part of it as well is that, again, we want to reiterate that we're not knocking down on religious values or conservative values in that sense about families, right?
Yeah. Again, Glennon Doyle is a
conservative Christian.
I don't think she's conservative Christian. But
not a capital C conservative.
Yeah. But she does run the momastery.
Okay.
So she's pretty Christian.
But she's also pretty feminist, it sounds like.
Yeah.
But I think...
But that's the thing. It's like, religion is not antithetical to feminism, necessarily. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's the interpretation of that religion that can be very patriarchal.
What I think we're taking offense at right now about Mike Pence's worldview is that it excludes women. That's not Karen Pence.
Mike Pence certainly does not have any female friends. Yeah. And with that, transition. So I guess we'd like to take this Mike Pence gate as an opportunity to talk about male-female friendships, because Mike Pence clearly doesn't believe in them.
And maybe Mike Pence can actually have listened to our podcast and think, it's like, oh, opening up an entire new world.
That's not definitely not happening. He's clearly not going to listen to two millennial Indonesian feminists ranting on our tiny podcast.
But if he does, if Mike Pence, if you're listening, you can learn a thing or two from this.
So yeah, so the whole question, can men and women be friends, is an age-old question. But in this case, we also want to talk about, me and Sweden believe that the question is actually very evasive to a lot of different kinds of sexualities. First, it assumes that all men and women are heterosexual.
And only attracted to one another.
Yeah, it completely ignores people who are gay, or even bi, or maybe even asexuals, and all the various types of sexualities there are. Mm-hmm. So, but since we also really want to stay in our own lane, and
not speak,
yeah, and as cisgendered and heterosexual people, we kind of just want to stay in this we can talk about this in a way that is acknowledging of the erasure this question has, while staying in the lane of what we do know and what is true about our experiences.
Mm-hmm. So we completely acknowledge that we can't talk about those other spaces because we don't inhabit them.
Yeah.
But they do exist.
Yeah. So, yeah. I think first we need to define what does that mean, right? Because clearly men and women with attraction can also be friends.
Yeah.
I don't want to even talk about relationships where one or the other person has been attracted to someone. I just want to say completely platonic relationships in which men and women can be friends without ever being attracted to one another can exist.
Yeah.
Even heterosexuals. Case in point, us.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've
been friends for over 10 years.
2/3 of our lives.
2/3 of our life, yeah.
Damn, we old.
And just some social science research that goes into this. Apparently, what the science says about this and the surveys they had is that they found, drumroll, women can be friends with men and never be attracted to them and have no strange ideas about their friendships, but men have a much harder time being friends with women.
Without having awkward tension between them.
Yeah, so women...
Groundbreaking news, guys.
Groundbreaking news. So basically a lot of women have no problem, being friends and not being attracted to their male friends. Because women see men as human beings.
Yes.
But the problem is a lot of the times the biggest downsides or costs to have a male-female friendship for a man is being rejected.
Yeah.
For a woman, the biggest downside is having to reject men.
It says a lot about the patriarchy, right?
And I'm quoting from the research, being unable to reciprocate romantic feelings.
Science speak for basically rejecting them.
The thing is, women feel bad about that, but we really shouldn't be.
No, you shouldn't be,
And it's why?
Why should your default be oh, I'm sorry that I have to reject you?
Yeah.
I mean, it also means that women, if they are rejected by men as well, they can easily move on from that. To sort of you're also not pining on your part.
Yeah.
Because you can accept a male individual as a friend and not has to only be a significant other.
Yeah.
But I think for a lot of guys, the friend zone exists.
Why won't you like me?
Yeah, I think part of it is that it's a deflection of the fact they've been rejected. You can sort of put the ball back into their court and say it's their fault. They've friend zoned me. I've tried my best, but they only want me as friends. But part of why I'm really annoyed by the idea of friend zone is also it demeans friendships, right?
Yeah.
It's almost friendship is the sloppy seconds.
Prize.
It's the rebound. You didn't get to be with them, so now you're just friends.
Yeah.
The idea of friendship is that it's not supposed to be surrounded by, the next step, as opposed to a romantic relationship where it's supposed, there are steps to go through, right, in order to sort of culminate or whatever. A friendship has culminated if you guys are good friends. That's it,
Yeah, and arguably in ancient Greece, the time of Aristotle, Plato, they talk so much. In Nicomachean Ethics, there was a whole chapter on friendships. And they barely talked about love and relationships, romantic relationships, because it used to be friendships were heralded much higher in terms of types of relationship than a romantic relationship, because a man-female relationship was at that time considered more for reproductive purposes, where your friends are the true estimate of who you are and who you can be. So you're growing as a person through your friendship.
Yeah.
Whereas the men-female relationship was carrying on the family legacy. The idea was your romantic relationship before wasn't your soulmate, right? It wasn't your everything. Your friendships were. And, that really changed over time also because of the advent and the growth of this idea called the nuclear family, right? The family unit as the
most important unit in your life.
Aspect of your life, also partly because of the growth of nationalism and progressive economies and romance being inherently more valuable. A friendship is a cultural construct in itself. It doesn't have to be that way. I think for me, there are definitely friendships that are more important than some relationships. That sounds really bad, but it's true.
I sure hope so.
There are definitely more consequential friendships. They're more enriching, more beautiful, more valuable for me to have experienced as a human being than, some less important relationships that with people who shall not be named.
Do you think part of it as well is that, especially in this day and age where we have social media, the idea of having a shit ton of friends is now, I think, more valuable than having a really good core group of friends?
I don't know if I agree with that. I think it's I think there's I think just for female friendships, I think that traditionally has been very much devalued by the media and Hollywood. like Mean Girl style, you know, it's like reduced to like petty competition, and women are like,
or comedic tropes, right?
Yeah, our comedic tropes are pitted against each other. That really, I think, undermine female friendships.
Yeah.
And for male-female friendships, like also again, Hollywood, like, you know, has a very difficult time portraying that. But I think in real life, a lot of people have very rewarding like male-female friendships. I think friendships can be such a well of, you know, inspiration for people that I think it's about time that the importance of friendship be rediscovered, right?
Reclaimed a little bit.
Reclaimed, especially as, you know, we've, you know, gotten more feminist as a society overall with slow progress. The possibility of male-female friendships is like something that is not as possible, let's say 200 years ago. With, you know, the increasing acceptance of women as people, I think that should allow, you know, different kinds of possibilities of male-female friendship, because male-female friendships do sometimes have their own interesting dynamic, right?
And I feel like I've learned so much from people's different perspectives. If I only hung out with cis hetero males all the time who are only interested in women as sexual objects, then my God,
you'd go crazy.
I'd go crazy, and I'd be one of those bros.
Oh God. Then we wouldn't be friends.
Yeah, exactly. This wouldn't be happening right now.
Yeah.
You know, there is such value in having friendships across the aisle, not just politically, but like across all spectrums. Yeah. If you're only crossing that river of difference just in order to make a romantic connection, then you're losing out on so much on what's possible. So, I mean, talking a lot about these friendships, right?
How did we also come up with this topic?
It's because
we have an important announcement to make, which is...
So, Dialogika is...
moving to the US!
I know, it's a little bit weird. Both Stephanie and I, on our, like, in our own lives... Timeline. Yeah, in our own timelines.
In our own different hustles.
Have somehow ended up with having to move to the States.
So, sweetie, and what will you be doing and what's happening in your life?
I'm moving back to the States to work with the company I've been working with for a few years now.
He finally got his H-1B.
Yes, took a long time. Also, of all the years. Really, of all the years. But yes, I'm moving back.
To Washington, D.C.
To Washington, D.C., the land...
of the free!
The belly of the beast.
The belly of the beast, basically. It's true. You might, if you go to the Trump Hotel...
I should just hang out there and just interview people, right, for this podcast.
Yeah. Whereas I'll be going to New York.
Yeah.
I'll be attending graduate school, Columbia School of Journalism, where I'll be working with data.
Yes, and learning
how to be a better reporter. Hopefully taking audio classes, so I might know how to start editing.
Yes. But I guess what we're saying is not only is Dialogika going to the States, but it's also like we're still very much interested in keeping Dialogika going.
Yeah. It's been over a year, guys. We have 27 episodes, which means that we have not failed in recording every 2 weeks for over a year.
Remember, like, our very first goal was like 10 episodes. If we can get 10 episodes, we'll be fine.
We'll be good.
And we can look back and laugh at what we did.
Yeah.
And now we're here, and it's kind of exciting to think that, like, even though we're moving,
we'll still be very much focused also on Indonesian issues and Indonesian politics. Mm-hmm. We're also definitely trying to grow and evolve as people and as podcasters. So maybe we'll be able to do more interesting collaborations with other podcasts in the US.
We're trying to, not only taking this opportunity to thank you guys and show our appreciation for how much support you've been giving us, but also share about how we have plans for Dialogika and how we hope we can grow as we personally are also growing in our own lives.
Yeah. Mostly I'll be trying to stalk WNYC and talk to Jed.
Yes.
Or the two dope queens.
Yes. And I'll be tagging along behind
I'll be like, I'm gonna go to WNYC. Do you want to pretend to be a journalism student?
Yes.
And we're also going to be trying to score Hamilton tickets.
Yes, that's the
big thing. That's
we're going to wait in line every single day.
Well, I'm going to be, because I already checked the subway route. It's a straight shot on the one train.
I love
downtown. I downloaded all the apps to get the lotteries.
So you're set more on getting Hamilton tickets.
Yeah, I've sorted out more of the Hamilton tickets than my like Visa I-20 stuff, which is probably a problem.
Yeah, you need to get there first.
Yeah, that's true.
Like
I think we'll definitely be looking forward to growing as people, because part of like what we talked about in our own personal lives is we felt that we've stagnated a lot in the last year without the podcast, especially. And we look forward to growing this podcast into a better, awesome, more maybe sound engineered product.
Fingers crossed.
Here's to that.
When people obsess so much about whether they're being in a friend zone or not,
I'm a great friend.
When people
I'm probably a better friend than I am a girlfriend. Thank you so much for listening to us this week. We hope you kind of took away something from it. As always, music credits to Jazzart, Ryan Little, and Broke for Free.
And if you haven't followed us on YouTube, our latest channel, you should definitely follow us.
We're also still going to be on SoundCloud, but we want to highlight YouTube a bit more.
And also, it's a lot easier, I guess, to listen on YouTube than, say, like open up SoundCloud or, go into iTunes and download the podcast. So we're trying to make it easier for you guys to listen, to enjoy the episodes.
Yeah. And once again, we always really want feedback. So email us at dialogikapodcast@gmail.com, or send us a Facebook message or comment on YouTube.
And as always, we'll have resources and links at our website, dialogika.id. And
thanks so much for listening.